Well, WWE has done it again with their ridiculous marketing. When I was watching SmackDown earlier, from nowhere where the intro video was playing, I actually went together and joined in with John Cena when he says that silly line. Then I face palm. I didn't even mean to do it. I am like a fish on a hook. And also, hello, my name is Simon from WhatCulture. Thank you for joining me as always. And something amazing has happened. WWE had another show known as SmackDown, so I thought, well, why don't I take the temporary fist of power and give the good bits an up and the bad bits a down. Ow, my hand kind of hurts today, which makes sense. It is broken. Point is, let's up those downs. And we start with me being a massive egomaniac because somebody in the SmackDown crowd had a sign that said, Simon, give this an up. So I am giving it an up. It really is that simple because no matter how many times people do this, it makes me feel so warm and fuzzy in my tum-tum, but also allows me to have the platform to just say, thank you, I appreciate you, you make me a very happy man, so I'm giving you a thumbs up. I then decided to watch SmackDown properly, and do you know why the brand split has never worked? Because WWE has never actually dedicated themselves to a brand split. I mean, ever since 2002, which is 20 years ago, Raw guys go to SmackDown and SmackDown guys go to Raw. Then we get to November Survivor Series and it's like, oh my God, we're gonna do red versus blue. Nobody actually cares. This carried on SmackDown because RK Bro came out to start the show. And look, I am totally cool with this. I would rather we did mix the roster, but it just makes the commentators sound so silly. Because Michael Cole and Pat McAfee were like, how did they get here? And it's like, do you not watch the same thing as me? I mean, they've been all over it for weeks. And who they were over like Rover, whatever that means, especially Randy Orton. And I think this is so nice to see because it's basically the fans going, Randy, we have watched you for a couple of decades and now we really respect your work. So what we're going to do is we are going to activate our voice boxes and just give you a bunch of love. Oddly too, they got into the ring, they dumped their Raw Tag Team Championships on the floor and they went, hey Usos, you can have them, and then they just left. And if you believe that, you'll believe anything. In actuality, Riddle started going on about Worcestershire sauce because they was in Worcester. Randy was like, I don't want to talk about this right now, because what he wanted to do was tell the Usos to get their asses out here right now in order for them to accept their challenge. Jimmy and Jay did obey this, and this when Orton was all like, I've known your family throughout the years, and I think all of them were awesome apart from you, which was a little bit like a schoolyard insult. But the whole point is that the Usos want to do this match, RK Bro wants to do this match, so at WWE Backlash WrestleMania 1279, we are going to unify the tag team titles. When RK Bro was celebrating afterwards, the Usos also dropped Riddle, which I presume will tie into the eventual RK Bro split. But I tell you, why I do think we should do that at some point, and Riddle should turn on Randy Orton, the timeline has changed. I wouldn't do this for ages because Randy Orton and Riddle, well, they're just so damn good together. For some reason, we then saw Naomi and Sasha Banks basically laughing at the idea of unifying the tag titles. And I was like, isn't that exactly what the women's ones are? Well, and of course, Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan showed up, and I tell you, I actually have no idea what show they're officially on. They just insulted each other, and I suppose we will finally do this tag team title match on Raw. Rhea Ripley will go heel. It's for the best. I did get a little bit confused because RK Bro were talking to Adam Pearce saying, make this match. And even though Adam makes every other single match, he was like, nah. But what he did do was give us our main event, which is going to be Riddle versus Jimmy Uso. And then around about 10 minutes afterwards, Michael Cole just went, oh yeah, we are going to do that match. I don't get why we do it. We then continued to have this merry-go-round when it comes to the women's tag team titles, because let's recap. Because Naomi and Sasha beat Morgan and Rhea on Raw, and then on SmackDown, Liv Morgan beat Sasha Banks. So on Raw, Naomi beat Liv Morgan, which meant on this evening, for some reason, Ripley had to beat Naomi. So she did. And I get that COVID got in the way here, so they had to do what they could, but don't come up here into my house and say, Simon, WWE doesn't love 50-50 booking. Honestly, they love it more than I love eating pizza. Still, I did think that Rhea and Naomi had a good match, especially because we got a proper finish, although there isn't much here to report. I mean, they went back and forth, Rhea Ripley did some moves, Naomi did some moves, actually Ripley did this Northern Light suplex and I was like, damn it, that needs to come back more. We don't see it enough. When she eventually hit the Riptide and she got the 1, 2, 3. So it was more than solid. It kind of felt like placeholder, but that's okay. Up. Gayla Braxton was then trying to interview the Usos, but they completely ignored her and went to Roman Reigns' dressing room, probably because he'd summoned them and they didn't want to have their heads chopped off, whereas Megan Morant was having much more success with her interviewee, because it was Happy Corbin, who now is a little bit sad again. Because he called Madcap Moss his lackey, who he will eventually destroy at the pay-per-view. And all of this is nice and simple, because what we should do is we should have Madcap win, and then coming out the other side of the premium live event, we can give him a big push. So this is just nice and simple, easy peasy, but sometimes that's all you need to do. SmackDown then went crazy as it always does, as Michael Cole told us, we've got somebody trying out for the announce team. And it was Drew Gulak. We then did cut to the back and there was Drew with a microphone sticking it into Madcap Moss's face. And he interviewed him. And Madcap just said, I hate Happy Corbin, I'm going to beat him, I'm going to be the greatest person ever. And then because he is fighting Humberto, he did a kiss cam where it focused on his ass, and I'm not making that up. But mostly, I could not believe that Drew Gulak was being an interviewer, and it does not end there. All of this did tie into the fact that we were doing Madcap Moss versus Humberto, and because Angel was on the outside, I was like, oh no, they're going to do distraction finish. But actually, even though he did create quite the bother, Madcap just hit the punchline, and he got the 1, 2, 3, and I wiped some sweat off my brow. Madcap also kisses onto the Giant Memorial Battle Royal trophy afterwards, so once again, we're just keeping this as uncomplicated as possible, so I am going to give it an up. I was a bit worried afterwards because Angel got in the ring and he started screaming at Humberto, you moron, you absolute flubblestick. How could you not beat that joke? And I was like, we're not actually going to break them up already, are we? Why is WWE obsessed on putting teams together, giving it 7 days and then going, oh, no, it's time to end the thing? I mean, how am I meant to care? You don't even give me enough time to. Let's just hope I'm wrong. Charlotte then found Anna Pierce and was all like, wait a minute, how come last week Ronda Rousey wasn't getting the shot at WWE WrestleMania Backlash, and then on Saturday she all of a sudden was? And this was a great question, because I was asking the same thing. I don't understand why WWE does it. And this is when Drew Gulak walked in with the most ill-timed question ever. Because he wanted Anna Pierce to scruffle his head and go, oh man, you are doing a good job. And this obviously pissed off Charlotte Flair, who said, hey, if you want to be a good interviewer, why don't you meet me in the ring? I was like, there's no way they're going to have Charlotte Flair beat up Drew Gulak. I should have known. Pat McAfee was also melting down about this for some reason because he was so happy Drew Gulak was on the team, and he did start to ask Charlotte Flair about the WrestleMania match against Ronda Rousey and the fact that they're going to have an I Quit match at Backlash. As ever, Charlotte was super confident, so do you know what Drew did? He said, well, I watched that WrestleMania match and it actually looked like you tapped out. Now, Flair had a good line here. She's like, no, I was just trying to readjust my bra. But Drew Gulak kept saying things. I was like, they're going to do it. They are definitely going to do it. So after Charlotte got pissed off with him and said, you're a quitter because you gave up wrestling to become an announcer, she told him to leave the ring. And as soon as he turned around, not only did he give her a chop block, other way around, she gave him a chop block, she put him in the figure 8 and then demanded he said, I quit. And I suppose because he was in a lot of pain and he'd rather not be in a lot of pain, he said, I quit. This was absolutely wild, but here's the thing. We haven't seen Drew Gulak in around about 742 years, so I'd rather he was doing something than nothing. And if he does become the announcer that gets his ass kicked as and when is needed, well, I suppose that's fine. I mean, I think it would have worked better if we had built up to this. I mean, it took less than an hour to say that he's joined the announce team and then he did get beaten up. I thought it made Charlotte Flair more of a bad guy. That must have been the point, so I'm going to give it an up. Ludwig Kaiser was then praising Walter/Gunther, and I still can't work out if they're individuals or single stars, or if they're going to be forming as a tag team, although it does sound like they're hunting down the Intercontinental Championship. When we did Drew McIntyre versus Sami Zayn, round 2. Now, it seems quite clear to me they're going to end up fighting at the pay-per-view, but here we did a carbon copy of what we did 7 days ago. And while I enjoyed that one, you can't just do the same thing. I mean, it was so similar. I was like, have I accidentally pushed play on the wrong episode? And I checked like an absolute moron. He's getting it down. Yeah, seriously. Sami Zayn was scared of Drew McIntyre, so he ran away for a while. There was some nonsense with Pat McAfee, which was quite fun. And when Drew went to do the Claymore, Sami got out the ring, he jumped over barricade, he ran away, McIntyre chased after him, Sami Zayn got counted out, and that was that. And look, it was fine, but it went about 2 minutes, and we progressed nothing. And then after the fact, Adam Pearce found Sami Zayn, he was like, oh, next week, you're gonna fight Drew McIntyre in a lumberjack match. I was like, shouldn't it be like a Fool's Count anywhere? But what will probably happen is more shenanigans next week, and then at WrestleMania Backlash, we do that snip instead. So this is fine as a filler feud, but you probably could have taken this out of this week's episode. But then a quick promo by Ricochet, who was all like, man, I'm not perfect, but I am flawless. And I was like, Rick, I have no idea what you're talking about. But it was to set up the fact that we were going to do the Intercontinental Champion taking on Jinder Mahal. And I was having kittens during this because, like, man, Jinder's gonna win, and it's just not the time. But he didn't. It was kind of fun. It was mostly short. Up. I mean, all that basically happened is that Jinder Mahal beat up Ricochet for a little bit, and then Shanky was interfering. So Ricochet went on the top rope. He took them both out with a dive. Jinder then got back in the ring. Ricochet hit a shooting star press. 1, 2, 3. And if you're a little bit like Simon, you ran through that. Well, this is what WWE did with the match, so I don't see why I can't replicate it. What I am going to do is very slowly and carefully put my hands together and hope that eventually WWE gives Ricochet a feud that he can actually sink his teeth into, because then the Intercontinental Championship will actually start to mean something again. Honestly, we need that yesterday. Incredibly, I then think we may have teased the breakup, or at least some problems, between Sheamus, Ridge Holland, and Butch. They've been together, what, like 8 seconds? As again, why is WWE obsessed with this? But Sheamus was here with his guy saying, man, there's no problems, even though Butch slapped the shit out of him last week. When Butch walked up to him and just went, no daddy, because apparently he can't speak proper sentences. He then stormed off, and Ridge Holland was trying to get Sheamus' attention, but he didn't talk to him. Like, if you want to get someone's attention, you go, Sheamus, but Ridge was just nudging him, and eventually Sheamus was like, what's going on? And Ridge was all, we've lost Butch. Like, no you haven't. He just walked off over there. I saw him. Anyway, what had happened is that Butch had gone off to find Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston. They were selling merchandise. Butch started to beat them up when Sheamus and Ridge Holland was here, kind of trying to calm things down, but also winding everything up. I have no idea what this was, but I found it very entertaining because it was absolutely nuts. Lacey Evans' video package round 2 was next, and I think this is a very good idea because it is just more horrifying tales about her upbringing, and when you hear her talk about it and how emotional she is, you get all the sympathy in the world, which is what you need to create a good babyface. And what does WWE need right now? Good babyfaces. It all ties into the fact that she has been through so much that now she's going to be a warrior, she's going to be a good mother, and she's going to be a good WWE superstar. And I just hope there are no swerves here, because I am totally bought in. Up. It also turned out that Natalya and Shayna Baszler were watching this, and honestly, sometimes Natalya cracks me up, because her reaction to it was, yeah, big deal. We've all had hard lives, and the whole time, Shayna Baszler was looking at this top like, man, like she'd never seen clothes before. I don't know what this was, but I loved it. I then got the fear again because Raquel Rodriguez was just sat in a chair in the middle of a locker room where nobody on this planet would sit, and she got up and she extended her hand to Natalya, and they did shake, but then these two walked off, and Raquel just smiled. Honestly, she is a former NXT champion and pretty good. Surely we can come up with better ideas than this. Our main event was next though, so it was Riddle taking on Jimmy Uso. This was great. Up. Riddle went for an RKO instantly, so he is learning, and this led to both guys chasing each other around the ring. But when Riddle slid back in, Jimmy Uso was waiting, and he started to beat him up. There was then flurries by Riddle, but Uso kept cutting this off, including dropping him on the apron. And I went on the internet and I did my research, and you'll be surprised to hear that's the hardest part of the ring. He also threw Riddle into barricade, and at that point I actually went, my word, Riddle is taking a beating. But this is when I realized he's getting his ass kicked because he's probably gonna win. He was able to go for the floating bro, but Jimmy was able to get his knees up where he hit this great Samoan drop for a near fall. And this is when Randy Orton and Jey Uso, who were on the outside, were like, oh wait, we don't like each other, and they started to get into it. Jimmy then booted Randy in the face, which was a terrible idea because it made Orton so mad he grabbed Jey and dropped him through Alan the announce table. But the absolute best bit was back in the ring. Jimbo went for another Samoan drop, but Riddle somehow turned it into the RKO. I got up and cheered because I love wrestling, and he pinned him for the 1-2-3. And Randy Orton is just on another level right now because he was so excited he was in the ring before the referee had even started counting the 3 count. But this made it even better because you're just like, man, Riddle and RKO or Randy Orton, whatever you want to call them, they are in love and I love them too. So this one is just a bravo all around, and right now these guys are not only propping up Raw, but they're propping up SmackDown, but it's working. They're so popular and they get better every single week. I think I already gave it an up, but I'm going to give it another up. But when it comes to the counters, it's just 1 up. Point is, they smashed it. Which brought us to the end of SmackDown, and I tell you, it was just such a fun show. When they actually keep to their storylines and they keep focused, WWE does know what it's doing. I'm giving it an up. Now, please do like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Head over to WhatCulture.com where you can read articles like this. Make sure you follow us on social media. And we got loads of other videos. Ups and Downs for Rampage will be out later, so make sure you watch that. And of course, tomorrow, Battle of the Belts will have happened tonight. So we'll up those downs for that. I got that confused. The point is, just watch it. My name is Simon for WhatCulture. Thank you for watching me as always. You have a lovely weekend. I'll see you soon.